Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and this week we're going to be reviewing One Piece Manga Chapter 1134. So, watch out for spoilers if you haven't read this chapter. I am Akainu Fanboy. The other guy is Geboss, and please like and subscribe to you. If not, leave a comment below, leave your thoughts. We started off here. We have an interesting color spread with Frankie being a ship for everybody to fly on, which is kind of interesting in lieu of his voice actor change. So, I mean, I know he's not like necessarily the focus, but at least visually, he kind of just looks like the main center of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's an homage to Kazuki Yao, especially because you see on his shoulder it says "We are eternal." So I think it's like a tribute to him retiring.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, so starting off this chapter here, it is funny to see Luffy being all respectful to Mr. Saul right here, and Saul being happy that, Robin's found friends and everything, and because Saul basically had similar words with Reiju from Sanji's flashback, that one day you'll find people that care about you, and they're both able to find that reality, which I think is kind of cool because like both Reiju and Saul have been able to see Sanji and Robin have friends.
Yeah. I think that was really the only ones whose like family members didn't get to see them. Well, maybe Brooke didn't get to see them with the straw hats, Well, and Zoro, but I mean, there's not much to Zoro's backstory, so.
Yeah, not that much emotional connection.
Yeah, but I was kind of laughing how, like, I was looking at Luffy's initial pose in the first panel, and I was like, that looks so familiar. And then I was reading, and someone pointed out that's like the pose that Jinbei took when he was joining the crew in Wano. So he's trying to copy, like, being the boss, like Jinbei was.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like you have Saul giving credit to Luffy for being an emperor, and he references how he used to be a marine, and then
I actually forgot about that he used to be a marine.
I did it because I'm a marine fanboy, but I think it is kind of funny to see that, and then we have the Vegapunk connection right here again too, and he's like thrown off guard a little bit with that. And so. Yeah. So we get into this whole, and then I guess there's like a Vegapunk clone now too, which I think. Yeah, I'm not sure what to think of that.
I don't like it. I mean, it makes sense, like, because Lilith says, "Oh, why wouldn't I have a clone to send out to other places? Because the government would get suspicious if I left Egghead." But like, we had the big, I mean. Lilith herself is kind of, I wish it was just her staying like as the last remnant of Vegapunk, and then Lilith being York being the remnant for Vegapunk in on the government side. But I guess we do have like that Frankenstein contraption of the rest of them, on the stratum that floated off. But yeah, it just seems weird and kind of a cop-out that Vegapunk has like this whole body that he might be re-uploaded into.
Yeah. So I didn't really like the execution about that as much. And we started to get into the OWL library where we see the library assistant with Angie. And I did like the OWL library a lot. I thought it was like a really cool, nice looking thing, and which is kind of fascinating because you don't really see this side of the Giants. Obviously we see the Warrior side, but to see kind of the cultured library side and everything, I think it's like kind of a cool different aspect,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we see the school with the kids and everything, and we get to see them talking with Ripley, and it seems like the warrior culture of Elbaf is not really present as much anymore. Because she says like the warriors, it was like King Harald who tried to get Elbaf trading with other countries.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of, sorry to make a Star Wars reference here, but if you watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars, there's kind of like this interesting division with the Mandalore planet,
Hmm.
where basically traditionally they're known as like the warriors, the conquerors, the crusaders, and stuff. But then when you have Queen Satine come in, sorry, Duchess Satine, and like basically they want to like have a peaceful, high cultured type of culture too. And then the Death Watch is basically a group of Mandalorians that wants to bring it back to the old warrior ways. So
Hmm.
kind of like I thought it was kind of an interesting parallel to this a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, to kind of see this, like we don't see as much of that political tension, but it's interesting to see how the rest of the world views Elbaf as like this warrior race, but really that
Hmm.
they're kind of becoming more of this on a cultural level.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally called Warland, though. So,
Hmm. Yeah,
um, but yeah, I did think that that was interesting. Because I'm wondering if that'll play into the future, especially because Ripley like mentions that like the direct connection with Luffy and I guess Joy Boy. Like she says that there's a warrior who looks like Luffy's Gear 5 in Elbaf's mythology. So
hmm
it's probably the sun god, which it's not quite a check on my bingo list, but we're getting definitely connections there.
for sure. Um, yeah, so I thought it was kind of interesting too. Like once they like see all the books and everything, I thought it was kind of cool, and to see that giant owl as well.
Hmm.
And it's a beautiful moment with Robin and Soul to see all those books, and she gets to see everything that she just loved and adored as a child, like come back to her. With like
Hmm.
someone she greatly cares for. So it's kind of one of those few moments of like beauty and like just like peace, for the Straw Hats, to happen. Like
Hmm.
there's not like yeah, Oda brings characters back from life a lot, or like Stu does, Big God does, but he rarely has like moments of joy that happen like this.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that having this level of knowledge that was rescued is important for the story overall. Um, but one thing I am kind of fascinated by uh, is Robin's book growing when she enters the library, because that kind of looks like straight up magic, if not like some sort of devil fruit. It's like
Uh-huh.
the opposite of Bege's fruit.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if it has something to do with the owl, since it's named after it. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and it
Um,
makes sense, like how the books grows and shrinks. How the giants were able to read them, because can you imagine like a giant trying to read like the tiny human books?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm wondering what's the source of power behind that. And we kind of go to someone that's, at least what we can tell, not as much as a scholar, which is Loki.
Yeah.
Um, and which is kind of interesting, where um, just to see the kind of the contrast here, where he says like, where is it? Uh, Basically, he's having a conversation with this mysterious figure who
Hmm.
we don't know. Maybe we could have speculation on who it is and everything. Um, I don't know. Yeah. So, what were your thoughts that kind of came from this section?
Um, well, one thing I did want to mention was that previously they had mentioned King Harald, um, and I was confused. I think it was a couple weeks ago that back in Big Mom's flashback, the one that she killed was the captain of the giant pirates.
Yeah.
I thought that they were like the co-kings of Elbaf, but no, they were just pirates. And then King
Okay. Gotcha.
Harald, I think, is was the king, and then Haruden was I guess is Loki's brother, and um, they're the sons of the king. But anyway, um, I did uh, think it was interesting how this mysterious figure kind of calls out Loki. Like, I think he's trying to, like, I had called in our bingo that Loki was going to be a good guy, and he basically says, like, oh, your words hide your kindness in this. So I think that he's just a bunch of bravado, like maybe playing a role in some way, taking the blame for something that someone else did. But yeah, it's interesting to see who this person is who has like a direct link to Loki.
Yeah, it could have been that mysterious figure we saw in the last chapter too, who some people think is Shiki, some people say is Scupper Gabon too. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. But speaking of the giant pirates, like they both had like really long beards, and then this transponder snail also has like a really long beard and everything. But I don't know. That was the only thing on the top of my head that for the identity of this person.
Okay. Yeah, same here. Yeah, I don't have too many. There's not too many indicators that it could be. I don't think it's Shanks.
No, I mean the snail reflects the person, so
yeah.
Oh, just keeping it ambiguous.
Yeah, it doesn't look too much like a Shiki type of character.
Yeah.
So, so kind of moving, I guess, to kind of the big.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, yeah. So, I mean, because we kind of already suggested. We talked about the whole. The previous king was murdered, and then Loki had to, bear the punishment and all the rest, right? And so we see someone teleport in, so the good times are going to be over. Like, we see literally them partying and everything, with Usopp. And then it just, like, immediately gets all dark. And we see so I guess people are saying that this confirms that this is the Shanks twin, basically.
Yeah. Shanks.
So, would you say it's 100% or?
I would say yeah. Just because, I mean, people pointed out a lot of the evidence. There's the fact that we don't see the side of his face with the scars. Because I think they said it extends to his forehead, and you don't see him on his forehead. You see the silhouette of the major players. They were drawing their sword with their left hand, the one that looked like Shanks, and Shanks obviously doesn't have his left hand, and just the fact that Shanks showing up to the five elders, I mean, you could argue that it was him, but having him, because I assume he's a figureland,
yes,
would make a lot more sense that he was able to get more direct access to them.
So, I guess, like, my thing is, like, we don't see both sides of his face.
Yeah.
We just see one side of his face, which could lead to possibility. I just don't want to jump to conclusions, I guess, Like, you could say, like, oh, well, Shanks doesn't have this ability, but I guess, like, how do we know he doesn't?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's an ability. I think that it was probably, like, Imu's powers somehow. Because we see them teleport directly in, like the Gorose did, so.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'll put my bias out there. I don't want this to be true, because not that I'm against the twin brother thing. I just like the idea of a more nuanced Shanks. That's kind of what I'm more into, I guess. And I don't see as much in the way as a smoking gun to prove that this is the twin brothers theory. But I mean, point it out. Maybe, like, there's something. I may be wrong, and I'm definitely open to seeing it. But I guess the discourse online was like people are 100% saying this shows that it's not Shanks. Yeah, possible. I just don't know exactly if it's like a definitive right here. I
would say that it's probably 85% chance that it's the twin.
Yeah.
Or a brother or relative. I would say that, yeah. But yeah, I was not expecting the shit to hit the fan this early on in Elbaf. What are we, like 5 chapters in or something?
I was kind of expecting it because everything was going too well for too long.
Yeah.
I mean, like, not just like a long time, like in terms of total quantity of good time, but like quality of good time too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess you can say that, but
yeah. And then who's this other figure you think?
Well, I would say that it's a female, just based on the eyes. But I don't know. The first thought that I had, which no, never mind. It's a stupid theory because that person's dead. No, and I wouldn't want the. I thought it was Ginny maybe, but no. Kuma had her body and buried her. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It looks like the person's injured too. You know, like they're trying to hide the identity. You know.
Yeah. They seem to have like a more like somber expression on their face.
Mm-hmm.
Like not like a malevolent one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But I think it's interesting that we like Egghead and now Elbaf are kind of focusing more directly on like Imu's influence directly with the Straw Hats. So
it is interesting how they didn't, because I thought we were going to stay away from world government stuff, but it looks like it's going to creep back in a little bit now.
Yeah, but I think I said before that they saw them escape with the giants, so you could assume that they were going to Elbaf, so sending people to Elbaf makes sense. But I think it's interesting that they went into the throne room of all places, and we see like the throne room's all destroyed and everything, so maybe that's where King Harald, like, he died in the throne room.
Yeah. And I think I saw Morge post this, but I think there's been like a running consensus kind of. I've been seeing the theory at a good place where basically that this figure is the one that killed the king, and they put the blame on Loki, basically, you know? So I guess like my only point that I would find interesting is why, I guess, like, would the government benefit from the giants being more of a peaceful nation rather than a warrior obsessed nation? Because, like, if that's the shift, right, your king dies and the government kills it, and that's what the goal of making them less of a barbaric people.
Yeah, unless they're one of the ones that allied with the D clan in the past, because we know, like, the giants have some sort of tie to the D clan, especially with Saul. So I don't know. But,
but I guess like if the end result is they become a pacifist nation, I guess it just seems like a weird, and it seems like they've been a pacifist nation for a long time. So that would have to be something the government orchestrated. The government was in fact behind the assassination of the king. And I guess I would ask why the government would want that.
Yeah, and that was about 20... They said it was about 20 years ago that happened.
Yeah.
I think they said that in this chapter.
So it's interesting we're introduced to that in this Shanks lookalike at the same time. So there seems to be a connection between the two.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's an interesting little plot line to kind of consider. You know, because you could, like I said, it just seems weird that the government would want that, I guess. You know, you can see the material benefit. Maybe they don't want them to be a bad force, so they turn them into a pacifist force.
Yeah,
I guess that's one way of looking at it. You know.
So I just thought about this. I wonder if, remember when Luffy met Loki, and Loki was bad mouthing Shanks to Luffy. I wonder if, like, he didn't know that this person. He might have mistaken this person for Shanks. And maybe that's why he doesn't like Shanks. And that could tie into him killing...
That's a good point.
Yeah, it could tie into him killing the king. So,
yeah, no, I think that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Mhm. But yeah,
No, that's a good thought.
Yeah, I am interested to see where this goes, though, especially because, once again, Oda gave a statement at Jump Festa that was like, be on the lookout for the movement of that man. And it's like, again with that man. Oda with, I don't think we even figured out who that man was the last time.
Did we ever find out who the lurking legend was?
It was obviously Hawkins or X-Drake.
So I don't put too much stock in that. I mean, I thought the only one that kind of gave stock was when Oda said, "You're gonna be surprised when wait, so and so is fighting who and who?
Mm-hmm.
Like those two are fighting." Like I was like, okay, Egghead, that kind of came to fruition, you know. Like okay, that makes sense, you know. So here, that's a little too ambiguous for me. Like we'll see. For me personally, I hope this is Shanks. But I think it's more likely that it's not Shanks. But that's just how.
Yeah, and that could kind of fill in some of the missing Shanks stuff that, like Shanks could be entirely absent for Elbaf, and this person kind of be in his stead.
Yeah, and then they all hate the. If this guy starts wild, and then they can all start to hate the Shanks look like, basically, you know.
Yeah. The only thing is the scars. I also saw, I don't know, it was some random comment that said, Teach is secretly like a good guy because he scarred the real Shanks, so you could tell the difference between him and his twin. That's like 4D level chess on Teach's part.
Yes. He cares more about his stomach, basically, you know, and his animal pleasures, you know, like he thinks that far ahead.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, if there's too much more I can say. I mean, like, I guess one quick thought I'd say, I think this other mysterious silhouette that I know she's dead, but it kind of looks a little bit like, I don't know. I for some reason I kind of think it looks a little bit like Sora.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, yeah, just similar resemblance. And the only reason I find that part to be interesting is because we never figured out why the hero from the comic book with Germa 66's name was Sora.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I find that interesting. That's all, and that's all I'm gonna leave it at that. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want my Sanji stand this, but it just similar features, I guess. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, we're going to have to compare meticulously.
Yes. That's what I will do. I will call off at work for the next 2 weeks and we'll get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I mean, that's about it. I think it's a very interesting chapter. Some good vibes, good cliffhanger, good lore.
Yeah,
and some interesting setup, so I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's the last chapter for this year. So I guess that means we have to do our top 30.
Oh, that's gonna be toxic as shit.
Yeah, our top 30 strongest characters. Saturn's not making it.
Oh, my boy. You tried so hard. Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh man, it's gonna be wild. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it though. It should be good. Yeah. Any more closing thoughts?
Ripley. Yeah, I like Ripley. That's about it.
That's about it. All right. Cool. All right. Well, please like and subscribe, everyone. Leave your comments below. Is this actually Shanks or a doppelganger? Leave your thoughts below. All right, man. Have a good one. Peace.
See ya.